Okay, something completely predictable is happening with so-called vaccine passports, so-called mandatory vaccines. And this, we predicted it weeks ago. It didn't require any special insights. I didn't need a crystal ball. I'm not some kind of soothsayer for realizing this was going to happen. On the one hand, we expected there would be schools, businesses, employers, airlines, whatever, that would start to say, after a certain date, if you want to do business with us, if you want to go to school here, etc., you will need to be vaccinated against COVID-19. Now, that was our prediction at the time. It hadn't yet started to happen. We also were seeing some states, Arizona was one that we mentioned at the time, but now there are more, that were decreeing bans against mandatory vaccination or so-called vaccine passports. So, for example, we covered last week or the week before that Arizona Governor Doug Ducey defiantly said, we will not have any vaccine passports here or mandatory vaccine requirements. But of course, it only applies to state government and to municipalities. Tucson can't require every Tucson resident get vaccinated. But of course, that was never going to happen. However, we are seeing more and more, some employers, but many, many schools. We now have more than 100 U.S. colleges and universities that are saying to come back to campus in the fall, you need to be vaccinated against coronavirus. There's nothing legally complicated about it. Before the pandemic, when I went to college, I had to show proof of certain vaccinations. I don't remember exactly, hepatitis, and I needed a tetanus shot, booster, whatever. There's been a list. This has been going on for a very long time. And exactly what we predicted is happening. And what is that? That people in some of these states, because now you have, in addition to Arizona, you have the Arkansas governor signing into law measures preventing governments from requiring vaccination. But this is not about governments requiring it. Texas, South Dakota, Idaho, all these, Florida, all these different states are signing different things, banning required vaccination, but it only applies to government and some very narrow other situations. So you are starting to see the posts are all over the internet. They're all over my Twitter. Every time I tweet about vaccines, they're all in the comments. Every time you read about, this university will require vaccination, that one will for on-campus students. People commenting and saying, this is illegal. The governor already banned it. This was written on the wall. Go back to my commentary from when we talked about Arizona issuing a ban on vaccine requirements. And I said, you were going to have these anti-vax people showing up saying, you can't do this because the governor banned it. And of course, the governor's orders do not apply to colleges and universities and, Ticketmaster and Live Nation, or if the Phoenix Suns in Arizona, the basketball team wants to say to come to games, you have to have proof of vaccination, or they might say you need proof of vaccination, or you've got to take a negative test if you're not vaccinated. These are two different things. And we knew that they were going to start confusing them, either deliberately or because they don't actually understand the limits of what government can and cannot decree here. One thing has nothing to do with the other. It was predictable that it would create chaos. And we're not even at the point where kids are starting to go back to school yet. By the time that fall comes, we hopefully will be closer to herd immunity. There are concerns as to whether we will ever get there, but should be closer, if not actually there. I think we will be doing very well as far as cases and deaths go by that point in time. Everybody who wants a vaccine by far will have been able to get one. We're getting close to that. And now it's about convincing people to want to get the vaccine. Way more colleges and universities and maybe airlines and maybe other venues and businesses and on, hospitals, whatever, will have said, in order to work here, in order to attend school here, in order to patronize our services that we offer, you will need to have proof of vaccination. And they are going to be going absolutely nuts. How does this get solved? I have no idea. The level of misunderstanding, and it's predictable. Listen, it's true that even people who aren't particularly ignorant, if you don't follow this stuff closely and you hear, Arizona governor bans mandatory vaccines. And meanwhile, Arizona State University says you've got to be vaccinated to come to campus. That does sound like a conflict in some sense. And it requires understanding that what the Arizona governor passed applies only to a city can't require being vaccinated to go to the DMV or deny you DMV services. that type of thing. It does not apply to Arizona State University or whatever else. It was completely predictable. It's going to be absolute chaos. And I think there is going to be probably, as travel starts to open in other countries, there are already other countries that are leaning in the direction of saying, if American travelers, if any travelers want to come here, you will need to be vaccinated. This is likely to reach a fever pitch in July into August. And as we get close to the fall semester, there's going to be protests. There's going to be absolute and total chaos. And it was completely predictable all along. One of our sponsors is privacy.com. They're giving you $5 when you sign up for their completely free service at privacy.com/Pakman. I've been using Privacy for a little over a year now. You've heard me talk about it before. It's a lifesaver, and here's how it works. It takes just a couple of minutes to set up. Anytime you buy something online or on the phone, instead of actually using your real credit card number, the Privacy app and the browser plugin let you give each company a randomized virtual credit card number that you create out of thin air. It'll even autofill the card number with one click. And the payment is taken out of your checking account without the merchant ever knowing your real information. So this allows you to keep your banking information secure, but also to take control of your finances. You can create up to 12 of these virtual credit cards a month. You can set spending limits. You can freeze them. You can delete them anytime you want. So when you do this, it means you're not going to be charged when you don't want to be, because you can destroy the virtual card number right after using it, which, for instance, I love using free trials because I know I won't be charged when the trial is over if I use a virtual credit card number. You're keeping your identity private by not telling companies who you are. You're keeping your bank or credit card info protected against data breaches and identity theft, and it's free. And like I said, you'll get $5 to spend when you sign up at privacy.com/Pakman.